So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the EU saying they're not going to budge on the Northern Ireland Protocol. They told Liz Truss, so this was on May the 12th. Brussels told Liz Truss it won't shift from its, quote, hardline negotiating stance. So you can see the framing off the jump is rubbish from the Telegraph. Despite her threats to rip up the protocol. So the EU said, like, we're not going to change from this. And I think they told her if you do rip up the protocol, it's going to result in a trade war. Šefčovič said there was no room to expand his negotiating mandate during a strained call with Liz Truss last week. It continues to be of serious concern that the UK government intends to embark on the path of unilateral action because Brexiteers don't understand this goes beyond trade. This is about an international agreement here. This is despite a series of wide-ranging and impactful solutions proposed by the EU based on their intensive engagement with representatives in Northern Ireland. So I'm assuming they've spoken to people in Stormont, but also they've spoken to businesses and consumers in Northern Ireland to talk about how it could, they could make tweaks around the protocol to make it easier for people. These proposals would substantially improve the way the protocol is implemented. They've made changes around medicines, for example. They're saying, Šefčovič saying, I'm convinced only joint solutions will work, and surprise, surprise, he's right. Unilateral action, effectively disapplying an international agreement such as the protocol, is simply not acceptable. The Commission Vice President added the bloc would introduce new proposals to reduce the overall level of trade friction, according to the Foreign Office. But again, you're breaching international law here. Truss responded by saying Šefčovič's approach would leave the UK with no choice but to bring forward legislation, which apparently they have done now. Recording this video 1 p.m. on the 17th of May, so I'm going to have a look at what she's proposed and come back to you guys. The Foreign Secretary said she regrets that EU leaders aren't prepared to show more flexibility on red tape, and so the bloc has a responsibility to show more pragmatism. It doesn't. The UK negotiated a deal, it put it into law, international law. The EU don't have to show flexibility or pragmatism here because this has all been done. You can argue this during the negotiating phase, but not really now. She noted the current situation had created a two-tier system where people in Northern Ireland weren't being treated the same as everyone else in the UK. However, there's you knew this when you signed the protocol. There would be a trade war in the Irish Sea and it would kill GB trade to Northern Ireland. You guys knew this at the time. Unless you didn't read your impact reports, that would hint to negligence at that point. The Foreign Secretary reiterated that the UK proposals to fix the protocol would ensure the removal of trade barriers between GB and NI while protecting the EU single market. That's simply not going to work. You can't do both. They talk about green lanes and red lanes, but we've spoken ad nauseum about why this has failed. The UK could have had a trusted trader scheme, but it failed because the UK kept changing it unilaterally. The Foreign Office outlined why the EU proposals will take us backwards, but they never actually have given specifics. Šefčovič confirmed there was no room to expand his EU mandate because I don't know how he would renew it. Would he have to go back to the EU Parliament? Would he have to go back to EU member states to try and get a mandate to change the protocol? I don't know. The Foreign Office noted this with regret. Regret. And said the situation is not in Northern Ireland is a matter of internal peace and security for the UK when the Tory party are the ones constantly stoking the tensions and fanning the flames of the DUP and the other radical unionists. A Whitehall source told the Telegraph Liz held her ground on the call and that if the EU truly care about peace, stability and the Good Friday Agreement, they should show more flexibility. But the UK keep talking about the need for cross-community consent, but they never sought that when they went for Brexit, especially the kind of Brexit they went for. They didn't ask for cross-community support when they agreed the Northern Ireland Protocol. So now suddenly the need for cross-community support and the need to support the Good Friday Agreement is very unconvincing, should I say. International treaties change all the time. Why can't parts of the protocol? Simple fact is it takes both sides, normally under good terms, to change international agreements. The UK are acting in bad faith and unilaterally. That's why we can't change this agreement, especially when it's a Whitehall source asking this question. How dumb do you have to be to work in Whitehall nowadays? So green lanes and red lanes. Britain has proposed a system of green lanes and red lanes to do, kind of say like certain goods, if they're not at risk of going to the Republic of Ireland, they should be put in a green lane and they should face less checks. Which again is not a bad idea, but the simple fact is the trusted trader scheme failed because of the British government. Under the plans, planned products that were destined for the province would undergo minimal customs controls, easing the paperwork of businesses. Only those shipments deemed at high risk of moving onwards to Ireland would have to undergo a full range of EU checks, which, again, it's not a bad system. I think this is what the protocol was envisioned to do in the first place. But Brussels is open to the idea, but the two sides can't agree on what should go in the green and red lanes, which makes sense again why they're kind of wrangling over this. The UK has accused, quote, Eurocrats, again, great language there if you want to foster goodwill, of taking an overly cautious approach, which the EU are absolutely obliged to do here, because they don't have to even agree to this trusted trader scheme or green lanes and red lanes. They can take as cautious approach as the Northern Ireland Protocol allows them to do, because it's a formal agreement. It's Conor Burns saying, when you've got to the point where a container load of goods for Sainsbury's requires the same level of checks when there are no Sainsbury's in Ireland, is as good as going. Treating goods, essentially, he's saying, is a very messy way of saying, because it doesn't make sense, that why should goods going from Sainsbury's in GB, going from Sainsbury's to Northern Ireland, face the same checks as goods, say, if Tesco's was exporting the goods, when there is no Sainsbury's in the Republic of Ireland, according to Conor Burns, which is a fair point. Again, it's a fair point, and if anyone wants to debate that, I'd be happy to debate that with them. Maybe certain goods from Sainsbury's could be on a green list. For example, if the government does so, the EU has vowed to respond swiftly by renewing legal action against the UK, potentially ripping up the trade agreement and potentially dropping sanctions on us. Coveney said the threats of unilateral action had gone down very badly in Brussels, this is the key issue here. It's not just the removal of aspects of the protocol, it's the breaching of international law and a formal agreement between two sovereigns. What the EU can't do is not react to a breach of international law, because again, what if Russia comes up with an agreement with Ukraine and just walks all over it in a few months' time? Because international law is important here. This would be an undermining of the withdrawal agreement that has significant impact on the EU as well as the UK, and this would put a hole in the EU single market. Šefčovič said threats to tear up the protocol were simply not acceptable and would undermine trust between the UK and the EU. Šefčovič saying, we have made it clear that there is still potential to be explored in our proposals and we are still waiting for a response from the UK side. I think the UK has rejected those proposals. They were back from October. But, this goes beyond just trade here. This is about an international agreement that the UK is potentially looking at breaching. This is what's causing further tensions between the UK and the EU. So, honestly, I've got nothing more to say on this one, apart from it goes beyond trade and people need to understand this. And if the UK does this stuff, it sets a bad precedent internationally. But also, why would you trust the UK in the future? But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.